Hey everyone, James Niggemeyer here. Thank you for tuning back into my YouTube channel. Today I want to do a video that's actually a response to a question that I had from a friend and guide client of mine, Elias Silva. He asked me to do a video on jerkbait fishing. So I'm going to go into rod, reel, line, just the entire thing, how I fish it, what I do, and what works for me. Before I get right into it, if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please hit the subscribe button. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up and drop a comment down below. So jerkbait fishing. The jerkbait is seasonally really appropriate because it works very good as you come out of the winter and go into the early spring or pre-spawn period. So this is just a great time to talk about it. It's a great tool when the water temperature is colder like this. And so I'm going to go into the rod, reel, line, and bait setup. The thing that I want to talk about though is I have kind of played with a couple different sizes, but for the most part, I want a jerkbait rod that's like 6'10" to 6'8", somewhere in that size, or I should say 6'8" to 6'10". I don't really want one that's a 7-footer, though I've used 7-foot rods before in length. I like a 6'8" to 6'10" because you're constantly twitching that bait down, twitch down toward the water surface. And that enables the bait to dive a little deeper, and you do not want to be hitting the water surface with your rod tip. So it actually helps to have a little bit of a shorter rod than we would for other techniques like 7.2, 7.4, and so on and so forth. The other thing is you're constantly jerking that bait, and when you're using a longer rod, it's just going to give you more fatigue in your hand and wrist and fingers. So a little bit shorter rod is going to be a little bit lighter. You're just going to be able to manipulate it a little bit easier. So I like a little bit shorter rod than I would for most other things, 6'8", 6'10". Over the years, I've used different rods, and generally a medium to medium heavy, fast to extra fast. And the reason why I'm kind of putting it in a range like that, because, you know, not all the rods are the same over a wide range of different rod manufacturers. So I want one that's going to have some tip. I really like an extra fast, but I do well with a fast. But I like the extra fast because that gives you more tip. That extra fast, you just have more tip manipulation on the jerkbait, and I like that. This is one that's worked well for me. This is a 6'8" medium action or medium power fast action. It's done well for me. I think my favorite is a 6'10" and medium heavy extra fast. When it comes to reels, I like a reel. Since I'm going to be using line that's a little bit on the lighter side, I want a smaller, overall smaller reel. And plus, I want to be able to palm it. That's what I mean by palm it. I want to be able to control that rod because you're doing a lot of twitching, and the bigger reels just feel like they're more cumbersome, harder to get a hold of, harder to manipulate the rod in that twitch fashion. So I like a little bit smaller, lighter reel, and I like the 7 kind of gear ratio area there. This one's a 7.5, and lines, again, I'm using lighter lines, so I typically use 12-pound test Gamma Edge fluorocarbon. Sometimes I use 10. I rarely go up to 14. 12 is kind of a great all-around size. And a smaller reel, one that casts really well and holds lighter lines. I don't need a wide spool to hold a lot of line, so a smaller one actually works well in my hand. The main thing is I want to be able to cast it pretty effortlessly. I want to be able to send it out there and get it out there away from the boat so that I can twitch it down and work it down and get it down to its, you know, its maximum depth, and be able to present the fish in and around their level and in and around that wherever they might be in the water column. But I want to be able to make a long cast so that it's away from the boat. The boat can have a potential to scare the fish and make them a little less apt to eat any bait, but specifically a jerkbait, because a lot of times those fish aren't really relating to cover. They might be brush tops or standing timber or rocky points or bluffs, but they tend to relate loosely and be higher in the water column. at times, unless it's a super clear lake and they can come from a great distance. I like to get the bait away from the boat, feel like I get more bites. So that's, you know, rod, reel, line setup. This is actually a brand new one that I got. I've had some success with it just today on the water. And this one's a Bill Lewis scope stick. Have a couple different sizes in this. This is the 100 size, and then they have a 120 size as well. One of the things I like about this 100 size is that you have 3 hooks. Some of the 100 size jerkbaits, you only have 2 sets of trebles. I like to kind of increase my odds as far as hooking and landing fish. When it comes to jerkbait colors, I don't get really crazy. Yes, I carry a bunch of them, but when it comes to jerkbait colors, I like a white, just like this one here, a white, and what they call sometimes French pearl, or a bone. I like white, and sometimes you want a little bit of color. I like chartreuses, but I don't like crazy bright chartreuses for most instances. So like a table rock shad, I think this is what traditionally is known as a table rock shad, which is kind of a faded chartreuse with a purple back, might have an orange belly, might not. And then I have a couple of chromes, chrome blackback, gold blackback I've caught fish on, Tennessee shad, chrome Tennessee shad. Those types of colors seem to work really well. When it comes to when I use what, when the water's somewhat stained, I will go with something that shows up like a table rock shad or a bone, but something that shows up a little bit more from a greater distance. And then when the water's really clear, sometimes they'll still like those chartreuses and bones and different things like that, but a more translucent bait fish pattern. Here's another one that's great, kind of a translucent, kind of a white with a blue back. This one's called Pro Blue. It's a pretty widely recognized color in amongst different jerkbait designers and makers. Let me see that other one. There it is, Disco Shad. It's like a translucent with like a chartreuse line down the side and a blue back. Disco Shad, obviously you can see it's really clear. It's got a lot of flake in it. So that's really great. Sorry about the glare, guys. The sun's starting to set out here. So you get the picture. Just some more opaque colors, some translucent colors, some shiny chromes and golds. So just have a couple of different things, and that way I can have a bait that I can switch around and try different things, so that I have a bait that the fish might want more than others on a specific day. So that's really kind of the baits that I use, the colors that I use. And I'm gonna go out and try to catch a fish out here. So now I'd like to demonstrate how I work the bait and what I do, and hopefully maybe even catch a couple fish. Here we go. So number one, you want to make, a nice long cast away from the boat. I'm actually fishing this little channel bend here, and so I just tried to make it, just past the edge of that lip and that channel bend. Don't want to go too far past it, it'll run aground. I just take up that slack and begin the twitch process. That fish just answered the request for a fish on camera. So, man, it's just a great way to catch them. Let me just get this boat position. So I think you kind of got an idea how I like to work that bait. This is always great when you can see that they've got 3 hooks in them. Get the pliers. And because then fish isn't coming off, and that you may have the right color too. Sorry, the sun's right behind me there, but that's a nice chunk on a mid 50 degree water temperature, and we are in January. So make sure you try the jerkbait. Jerkbait's a great way to catch them. Not everybody likes the jerkbait, has a tendency to get hung up on a lot of different things, but super effective in the winter going into the pre-spawn. Hey everyone, thanks for tuning into my YouTube channel, and good fishing.